the big social media companies say things like they take the safety of their users really seriously. And yet we continue to find that the sort of content that Molly was viewing 7 years ago, in the last 6 months of her life that a coroner contributed in a more than minimal way to her death, the same sort of content is easily available online, easily to find. And what's more, the platform's algorithms also suggest that content. So once you've stumbled into that sort of topic, that sort of depressive content, in Molly's case, self-harm content, the algorithms will suggest ever more and more of it. And yet the platforms claim they put safety first and claim they're doing as much as they can about it. Nothing much has changed.
And today you're coming to us with new data that sort of backs up that conclusion.
Yeah, and this data, here's another example, this data is only available because of European regulation. There's a thing called the Digital Services Act, and that requires companies who operate in Europe to provide data about the decisions they make when moderation matters are considered. And in the 8 months between September of last year and April of this year, that data reveals 12 million moderation decisions in connection with suicide self-harm content. And what it reveals is that the decisions taken are disproportionate to the size of the platform. So if you look at a platform like Meta, which is a huge global platform, one of the biggest, it makes decisions on about, of the 12 million decisions in that period, 1% were taken by Meta, whereas a comparatively small, albeit a big global platform, but comparatively small platform like Pinterest took nearly 3/4 of those decisions, 74% of the decisions. So that seems to indicate that it is possible to do more to remove harmful content online, and yet platforms like Meta, like X, like Snapchat, like Facebook don't seem to be doing enough about it.
Ian, thanks so much for joining us. I just wonder your thoughts and reflections with all of this data. What conversations should be had at home between parent and child about social media use? I have 2 little ones at home, and the conversation I have, I suppose, is, you know, you wouldn't let someone in, a stranger in, to your front door, and that's something they understand at this stage. But as you get older, it gets harder to police, doesn't it?
It does get harder, but the fact that you're having conversations is the important bit. That's probably harder still when a child becomes a teenager. Going through those teenage years has always been a trial in some ways. You know, you grow up and you separate from your parents. But as a parent, I think the important thing is to try and keep an avenue of communication going between the generations. Try and encourage your children to talk to you. Have conversations about digital safety, digital well-being, digital health, if you like, and talk about the fact that the digital world is amazing. We live in a digital world and it provides amazing opportunities, but not everything is good. And when you find something that isn't good, you should talk to someone about it. You should report it if it's really seriously not good, and you should at least share those experiences. So if parents share their bad experiences with their children, I think that encourages the same sort of conversations, but originated from the child's point of view, and then learn together about digital technology. They're the best things that you can do to keep that conversation going.
It sounds like, from what you were saying earlier, that you don't think overall the social media platforms are doing enough, or perhaps not doing all that they could. So let's talk about the law and regulation. You mentioned the EU stuff, the online safety bill obviously here. Does it go far enough? Are there simple, clear, extra additions to it that you would like to see? What's your message to the government?
So the message to the government is the online safety bill, which took 5 years to get through Parliament, and Ofcom, as the regulator, are now consulting for about another couple of years. It's going to take a huge amount of time to have any teeth at all. In that time, things have moved on. And also, as we begin to answer the consultation process that Ofcom is going through, we see that there are things where the bill is weak or could be structured in a stronger way. What is vital is no time is lost by this government in making sure that the bill is strengthened where it needs to be strengthened. No time is lost because social media's been around for 2 decades. We've given the platforms a 2-decade head start, and they've proved that the era of self-regulation hasn't worked. As the Digital Services Act has revealed this data, other benefits come from regulation. And if the government looks at the Online Safety Act and strengthens it, so it, for example, cumulative harm, where posts maybe not so harmful on their own, but if the algorithms are suggesting them and the platform systems suggest more and more harm, if the government looks at the Safety Act and says it's going to be difficult to enforce that, then it needs to be strengthened. And this is an ongoing process. We've got to keep up with the pace of tech. It's not going to finish anytime soon.
I don't know if this sounds like a really silly question, but what was Molly like? And what do you think she would have felt about your campaigning?
Molly, her dad, so I would say, but Molly was one of the most adorable, lovely people I've ever met. She was one of the most caring people I've ever met. So in that sense, if she ever saw something was wrong and could be better or fixed, she always set about changing things for the better. So if Molly was here and she was aware of these problems, I'm sure she'd be campaigning just as hard to make the internet safer for all of us.